It is a great pleasure to be here today to present to you Afro-Caribbean dance as a cultural healing system. A system that can help dance movement therapists expand their treatment approaches when working not only with clients of color, but with any client who have been suffering the psychosocial consequences of discrimination, oppression, violence, and trauma. Historically, song, music, and dance from the African diaspora have given voice to communities of color, acting as a unifying source of cultural pride, of communal knowledge, and of communal healing. Systems of oppression, such as institutionalized racism, colorism, classism, xenophobia, sexism, and the list goes on, continue to affect communities of color today. And as a result, there is a demoralization of the self, of the collective, feelings of shame, lack of self-love, and a continuation of a psychohistory of trauma. Now, as therapists, we know that when we work with traumatized clients, they are often cut off from their past. And it is through understanding and learning about that past that we don't fall back into reenacting the trauma. Now, this is exactly one of the main principles of the Afro-Caribbean Dance Healing System. It is through culture and tradition that we provide our clients the tools to gain a sense of connection, meaning, and power. In the last few years, I've been working really hard at bridging my Afro-Caribbean dance knowledge and my Western clinical dance therapy training, and bringing this practice to clients of all ethnic backgrounds. Through extensive research and wonderful collaborations with other community healers, I have concluded that Afro-Caribbean dance provides access to 4 levels of empowerment: the self-body power, the collective power, the socio-political power, and the spiritual power. The self-body power speaks about dancing intentionally to activate healing energy, intuition, internal resources, which allow the body to occupy itself, defend itself, and liberate itself from repressive ideologies, physically, emotionally, and cognitively. Some examples of dance aesthetics are power postures, liberation gestures, arms and torso imitating the power of the wind, the flow of the ocean, and the beauty of rivers. Or circular hip movements, which allow the body to ascend in grandiosity and descend in celebration of creation, fertility, and life. As dance therapists, we know how transformative symbolic imagery can be. And within Afro-Caribbean dance traditions, symbolic imagery is evoked in the embodiment of forces of nature, or themes of struggle, liberation, survival, pride, celebration. And these symbolic meanings have the potential to be incorporated into the movement repertoire of the client, helping the self to deconstruct the imposed narrative and reconstruct the real one, which is, you are beautiful, you are powerful. Collective power. One of the most amazing things I've seen in my visits to my Caribbean neighbors is how communal dance spaces provide a container and a safe holding environment for collective expression. I'm speaking about utilizing collective processes such as the circle formation, the call and response, and even polyrhythmic structures found in the music, song, and dance to emphasize that all elements relate to each other. Now, in the cultural context, these regulating social structures are passed down intergenerationally as prescribed social values. Values such as cooperation, community, respect for the elders, respect for tradition, respect for the drum and identity. And I think that this power is about developing a collective voice, a sense of belonging and ownership, and using music, song, dance, or rhythm to help our clients engage in meaningful relationships intentionally. Socio-political power. Historically, dance traditions in the Caribbean have been the source and the force behind emotional and spiritual nourishment for enslaved Africans to fight for their freedom. And today, these dance traditions continue to serve as a collective political strategy by engaging in a cultural revolution of ethnic unity, of claiming power, of social resistance, and fighting oppression, period. Now, let me say this. When we are working with a client of a different culture or ethnicity, it is important to recognize that at any given point, that client's culture can become their healing power, and we need to be ready to support that process. Not by appropriating the cultural dance, but by staying curious and aware of our own biases, our limitations, our assumptions, prejudices, social privileges, and by being ready to incorporate their stories of oppression into our treatment approaches. So by committing ourselves to understand how social and political systems affect a client's life, then we be ready to advocate for a culture of visibility, inclusion, and equality. Spiritual power. To access spiritual power is to access the energy that orchestrates everything. And whether the mover believes in it or not, it still exists. The energy is still there. And it's there to transport you to a memory, to a feeling, to an era. It is the source behind creation, inspiration, transformation, resistance against illness, and in some cultures, spirit can give you insight into illness. In the therapeutic process, I try to cultivate the connection between health and spiritual alignment by claiming spirit as a resource that lives inside all of us. Afro-Caribbean song, music, and dance have the potential to serve as a vehicle for praying and receive dance as a spiritual blessing. Its narrative, in my experience, can help clients cope with pain, life challenges, and to connect them to their own resilient self. In my years practicing as a dance movement therapist and as an Afro-Caribbean dancer, I have experienced a major shift in my dance therapy theoretical framework. That is, shifting from therapy to healing, incorporating the physical, emotional, social, and spiritual aspect of the person. Also shifting from a pathological model to a strength-based empowerment model, which maximizes the principle of working with the healthy aspect of the individual. It is my intention here today to promote Afro-Caribbean dance as a comprehensive treatment approach that recognizes its principles as valuable healing tools in the work with diverse communities, especially communities of color. Lastly, this is a call for all of us dance therapists to rethink our treatment approaches and incorporate a therapeutic paradigm that is culturally, socially, and politically sensitive, and one which allows us to stay open to culturally distinct ways of conceptualizing health and healing. Ase, thank you.